You're listening to the Age Tech Podcast, the show that brings you the movers and shakers of the age tech ecosystem, with your host, Karen Etkin.
Hi, John Techies. Did you know that transportation is one of the biggest challenges in aging? Many older adults who are no longer able to drive need safe and reliable transportation options. My guest today is Mike Lewis, the co-founder and CEO of Onward, which specializes in assisted rides and deliveries for older adults. Welcome, Mike. Thank you for joining me.
Hello. Thank you for having me.
Tell us a little bit about Onward.
So Onward is a transportation company. We are focused on helping those who need extra assistance, whether it's older adults, those who have a medical condition, and we provide transportation to them, door-to-door and door-through-door transportation to them so they can get out and live their lives and have more freedom.
So what made you start this company?
Good question. So I was working at Airbnb back in 2018, 2019, and my mother-in-law got Alzheimer's or was diagnosed with Alzheimer's, and my grandmother moved into an assisted living facility. And both those things happened at the same time. And when those happened, I got a look at what services are available for older adults. And I was working in San Francisco, in Silicon Valley, and I saw all this innovation and disruption and new online on-demand services happening. And then when I looked at the services available for my mother-in-law and my grandmother, none of that was available. And so I just thought that, there's a lot of room for innovation and there's a lot of work we could do. And so I thought it was, a great area of focus. And so I quit my job, and I have a co-founder, Nader, who was also interested in this space. He and I had been co-founders of a previous company before. And so we looked at this whole space, and there were a couple of things that really resonated with us. Aging in Place and the PACE project, that was another mission that we thought was really cool. But there's a lot of things. We actually initially started around companionship on demand. And so that was the first incarnation of our product, was the ability to get a companion on demand. We had different companions, and we were talking to older adults who were living in their homes, and it didn't work. It was while there is a need for companionship and that need stays there, it was a tough product to sell. People are very curious about who is this companion, what is their age, gender, interests, and they want to match very closely. And a lot of people don't think that they necessarily need a companion, and what are they going to do? And it wasn't a smooth transaction. But one thing we knew while we were doing this is all said they wanted a ride. They said, before I, officially ordered a companion, can I just get a ride to a medical appointment or to the airport or to whatever? And so what we found is the need for transportation and rides was huge. And so we flipped it. We said, great, instead of companions that can provide rides, let's do rides that come with companionship. And so we then started focusing on getting really great drivers who will get out of the car and will essentially be companions, but will do so in the context of giving a ride and providing transportation.
You're based in the San Francisco Bay Area, so there are tons of Ubers and Lyfts all over the place. What did your users say? Why weren't they using Uber?
That's the first question everyone asks me. And what we say is, if you can use Uber or Lyft, you should do it, because those services, like you said, are readily available. They're very, inexpensive, and they're on demand, and they're easy to use. It's really for the audience and the people out there who can't use Uber and Lyft that we're a great service for. Whether it's you don't have a cell phone or smartphone, or you need extra assistance getting from your door to the car, or on your ride, you need someone to help carrying something or do something. That's really where we shine. I think we've all had the experience, myself included. I've ordered an Uber and come outside and try to find the Uber and can't find it. And then the Uber driver cancels and then leaves. And that's, I'm an able-bodied 40-year-old. Imagine if you're moving a little slow, you have a walker, and it might take you 5 minutes to get from the door of a building to the car. The Uber and Lyft drivers canceling, and then if you don't have a smart on top of that to go back inside and try to order it again, order up your phone, it can be a really painful experience. So that's one. The pickups are a big problem. But also one thing our drivers will do is they'll stay with the rider. So if you're going to a medical appointment, our driver will, go in the waiting room and sit there and wait for you to be done, for you to come out and then take you home. So if you're a child of an adult, so for my mother-in-law, for instance, she needs to get a ride someplace and get a ride back. I don't want to have the anxiety of them trying to order another ride somewhere. I just want to know if my mother-in-law is leaving the house, that she's going to get back to the house safely and it's all going to work out. And Uber and Lyft, as you can imagine, aren't going to give you that safety or sense of security that it's all going to work out.
Definitely not. So how does it actually work? How can older adults get a ride from Onward?
There's a couple ways. So we have an app and we have a website, and you can use our app just like you use the Uber and Lyft app, where you create a profile, put your credit card on, order a ride. But you don't have to do that. You can just call us. So we have a full-time concierge team who will take your calls and do that all over the phone with you. And that is how most people use our services. They just call and order us. We are built not just for older adults and seniors, but for their children. And so there's lots of things we've done. So if the adult child is managing care or rides for someone else, or if it's a fiduciary or whoever, it's set up to accommodate that, such that when, let's use my mother-in-law, for example, for her rides, if I set it up, I'll get a text message when the pickup happens, when the drop-off happens, if there were anything that went on with the ride. And so different than Uber and Lyft, which has just driver and rider, we have 3 people involved. It's the driver, the rider, and the person who ordered the ride, and they all 3 stay in the loop with everything that happens. And so it's a little bit different. We also work a lot with facilities and senior living communities, and we have a nice dashboard for them to have their roster of patients or residents, where they can put in the cognitive abilities, the physical abilities, and then order the rides there and see all the rides that they've ordered and manage different payment types, whether they want to invoice the ride or charge it directly to the resident. So we have a lot of different ways we can order, but I'd say 70% of them are just over the phone.
And can they book the ride in advance?
Yes. In fact, most rides are booked in advance, and you can not only book it in advance, but you can book it with the specific driver in mind. If you love Denise or Bill or whoever, and you say, I want Bill next Thursday and every Thursday, we'll work to make that happen as well.
That's amazing. And I remember you once told me that many of your drivers are actually older adults themselves. So they're sort of half retired. Is that still the case?
It's common that we have an older adult in their 50s or early 60s as a driver. But the drivers, they have a variety of backgrounds. Many of them have a health background or ex-nurses or home care aides. But the one thing we vet for among all the drivers is a compassion gene. And so we interview them all personally, and we try to vet out inside what they're doing. And if their answer is they're doing it for the money, we don't hire them. If they're doing it because they love, helping and giving back, most of our drivers are already volunteering with free rides through their church or through another network. And so this is something that they love to do. We want them to innately have the desire when they pull up to a ride to want to get out of the car, to be excited to go to the front door and ask the question, what can I do to help? And so that is the big difference.
So when your drivers apply to become Onward drivers, do they say why they want to work for Onward rather than for Uber or Lyft?
Yeah, we ask them, why, what type of job are they looking for? What are their expectations? But also, what is their experience? Do they have any experience with taking care of older adults or working with seniors? And they all do. And across the board, our drivers have that prior experience.
Wow, that's really, really unique.
We take hiring our drivers incredibly seriously, and here's why. most tech companies spend a lot of time on their website and on their apps and the design. And we have a tech background. And so we think that's obviously important. But the amount of time that our customer spends on our website versus the amount of time they spend with their driver, it's 100 to 1. Their love of our product and our service depends mostly on the quality of our driver and not on the quality of our apps or website. And so we think it's one of the most important things we can work on.
Absolutely. So where is the service available right now?
So we're in the Bay Area. That's our primary region. We started there, but we've also expanded. We're in Sacramento, Los Angeles, and soon going to Texas. So we're actually working on our Texas expansion right now. So we're in those, so California, Sacramento down to Los Angeles, and then in Texas. So those 4 cities.
And you did manage to get all your drivers vaccinated for COVID, right?
Yeah, we were fortunately categorized as a healthcare company because we were in and out of the hospital. The drivers were able to get vaccines. Yep.
So people riding with Onward can feel safe, both getting in and out of the car and also the in-cabin experience.
Yeah, I mean, we take COVID incredibly seriously. So not only are they vaccinated, but we supply enough masks for our drivers so they obviously wear masks, but they can provide masks to the riders if they don't have them. Same with hand sanitizers. There's wiping that done. So we wipe down the car thoroughly before and after every ride, the high touch areas as well as the interior. And because it's, again, not like Uber where there's a drive happening back to back to back, there's time in between the rides to actually make sure that the cars are safe spots. So we can protect against COVID and hopefully put the pandemic in our rear view.
Hopefully. So
Yeah.
what's the bigger vision? Where do you see Onward in 5 or 10 years from now?
In the short term, assisted transportation is needed all over the place, not just in California. Every city needs this. And so, national expansion is kind of the immediate short term. But then beyond that, we're around compassionate assistance. So there's lots of different ways people need assistance, not just transportation. So we're open to other categories, but for now we're focused on transportation and bringing that to everyone in the US.
You did add some extra services because of COVID, right? The grocery delivery and the prescription delivery, those are new.
Yes, I like to joke that having a company whose mission is around getting seniors out of their homes was probably the worst possible message you could have when the pandemic started. Yeah, because everyone was staying in their homes, but they still needed the same things. They needed, groceries and prescriptions, but just shopping in general. And so we don't try to compete with Instacart or with Whole Foods delivery, but we can do any type of shopping someone needs. So if you need to go to multiple locations, if there's a corner deli that doesn't have online delivery, our drivers can first go to the deli, then go to the post office. Then if you want, go to the liquor store and bring all of that home, whether either by themselves or with the rider. We have customers who do it every week, all the time. So that is something we added it into our app so you can see all the items you've ordered and you can track it. The way it works is we will pay for the groceries, deliver them, and then once they're delivered, get reimbursed from the customer for the charges.
So it's almost like a full service concierge doing your shopping for you, running your errands. Yeah. Amazing. So if seniors weren't able to get out of the house, we were able to help them shelter in place and stay safe in their home and bring in everything to them.
Yeah, exactly. Like we normally will bring seniors into the world, but during the shelter in place, we will bring the world to them.
And I imagine that a lot of your customers are also not very comfortable with using Instacart or online shopping in general.
Yeah, exactly.
Is there anything else you would like to add?
No, just that I appreciate everything that you're doing and shining a light on this part of the world.
Thank you so much for your time and for being here.
Yeah, well, thank you for having me.
Thank you for listening to this session of the Age Tech Podcast. For more Age Tech content, visit thegerentechnologist.com and subscribe for updates. We'll see you in the next episode.